there's no brainer that when it comes to AI and chatbots and using this sort of automation, you can save money. But the thing that I'm more excited about is the fact that there's more real world interactions happening.
Hello there, Orthopreneurs, and welcome to another episode of the Orthopreneurs Podcast. I know I always say today I have a special guest, but today I really have a special guest. Please put your hands together and welcome, a warm Orthopreneurs welcome to Matt Leitz, founder of Bot Builders, and you're going to learn more about him in just a minute. But welcome, Matt.
Hey, thank you for having me, Glenn. Excited for this.
Yeah, Matt is somebody who I met through one of my masterminds originally that I was going through in terms of entrepreneurial journey, and we've become friends, and I respect the living daylights out of this guy, and you'll understand why as we move through this. Before I really bring him into this, I just want to tell everybody out there that many listening to this, most listening to this, are orthodontists or someone in the orthodontic industry or dental, or even some entrepreneurs out there who do listen. I'm big in Turkey, you should know, and Nigeria and Turkey. I'm big there, but most of the time when you're listening, you get to hear me interview people who are in our typical sphere of influence, people who are orthodontic consultants, or maybe they're in venture capital money, but deals with orthodontics, or maybe they're private equity, or maybe they're in health and wellness in a way that really helps everybody. It's rare that we're going to get somebody like you, Matt, on this podcast. And I'm really excited for people to hear you because in a moment, you're going to give your background, but when you folks out there hear some of the people that he's worked with or that he's run with, this is world-class stuff we're talking about here, okay? This is not somebody who just appeals to the orthodontic market. This is somebody who really knows what he's doing, and we'll pad your feathers a little bit fairly in just a minute.
Take it.
You deserve every drop. But let's start.
I appreciate it.
Let's have you introduce yourself a little bit. And if you want to take a minute or two and just tell people, how did you end up where you are now? And then we'll backfill the story a little bit about what it is you really do. We'll talk about that in a few.
Great. I think probably like many people, well, actually, maybe not your audience. They actually had a plan, went to school, and created a real career. I was not in that bucket of people. I kind of backed into this whole thing. Lifelong entrepreneur, several companies that worked, several that did not work. And this whole AI and chatbot thing was kind of backed into it. I had started a company following a passion. Actually, I think I have a copy. Yeah. Very convenient, right? I followed a passion and designed a board game.
Don't be a loser.
Don't be a loser, right? And Glenn, I'll send you a copy.
Thank you. For those who are listening and not watching, he just held up a board game with a name on it. Don't be a loser. I love that. That is a great name.
Well, and I was ready to sell 1 million copies and came up about 997,000 short. So,
hey, but you did sell 3,000, and there's something to be said for that.
I did, yeah. Well, actually, I've got about 20 I'm holding out, and now I have 19, and you got one of them. But
right on.
But in that process, I was kind of failing, miserably, and I went back to my roots. The only thing that I've ever done, effectively, are kind of the online businesses. Oftentimes around marketing technology. And so I went out and I acquired boardgames.com on creative terms, which I could, give a whole seminar about. But, once you got the domain name boardgames.com, there's no way you fail in the board game business. So one would think. But I drove it into the ground. I made all the cardinal mistakes. And in the process, there was only one darn thing that worked. We had an unbelievable chatbot, which was just crazy to me because I'm not by nature. I think, Glenn, people expect me, I'm going to be a techie, kind of guy. Like, even though I've been known to master these marketing tools, right? I'm not a coder. I don't even like using computers. I don't like my iPhone, I'd throw it in the ocean if I could. It's not my thing. And I just, at the time when we were trying to get this bot business going, everybody was just talking, or getting the board game business going. Everybody's talking about bots, like, hey, you got to get into this thing. And finally, I'm like, all right, we'll check it out. And when I got in there, my reluctancy, Glenn, was because every business that I've ever had has always got one thing in common, and that's we're a support-based company. Like, we have we take care of people. And my initial thought was, a bot, that's going to do the opposite. That's going to dehumanize the whole thing. And when I got into it, I was shocked, because what I realized is that done right, a chatbot creates, first of all, a more human experience, because if you know anything about chatbots, it is interactive. So, you send emails every day. It's a one-way thing. A chatbot can create, real customization and real, actual connection. But the bigger thing is that we were able to use chatbots to bring people around the table to play board games. And, and we've got people in all these industries where, yes, a chatbot will take care of the unwanted stuff. If you, for example, if somebody, one of your listeners, has got a bottleneck in their front office, and they can't get all the phone calls or make all the outbound messages, like it'll absolutely, it'll handle that, and it will save, time and money. And I think a lot of times,
and spoiler alert, later on when we talk about it, we'll talk a little bit about something that you've created or are creating for orthodontics. That is going to be a game changer, but we'll get there. I want to throw that little teaser in there right now, Matt.
I think it's tease worthy. I'm grinning. I know if you can't see this, I'm grinning ear to ear, because I think of all the things that we've done, this might be the most exciting use case, meaning making the most impact. And when it makes the most impact, it makes the most income. So there's no brainer that when it comes to AI and chatbots and, using this sort of automation, you can save money. Right. But the thing that I'm more excited about, Glenn, is the fact that there's more real world interactions happening. There's getting more butts in those seats. Right. That's where the money comes from. So it's not just saving, a few dollars and that you have to hire less people, or, stopping that bottleneck where you can't get back to you. Like, those are important things. But, where just the ROI on this thing becomes absolutely crazy. It's just like when you have AI working for you, not just using Chat GPT, which I know, Glenn, you're going to be covering a lot of that stuff at the summit. That stuff is awesome. No brainer, right? But when you can take Chat GPT and instead of just using it as a tool, you put it to work. Like, you get it working for you, booking appointments, making sure that people are showing, like, doing all these kind of things. That's where it becomes very, very powerful. So, I'm sort of the common, the reluctant, chatbot hero here. Had no plans, but it's just when I've seen what it's done for every kind of business imaginable. Because anybody listening to this, what's a client worth in this industry? Like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
touching on that a little bit, because again, you went through this whole "don't be a loser" phase, and unfortunately, you lost.
I lost. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's okay. You attempted, which is in our world. And you are, I see you as your classic visionary. You are the classic visionary, and as a protagonist in the story, you may not be the tech guy, but you're the guy with the idea who can see the big picture and knows where you want to take it. And so ultimately, you've worked with Grant Cardone.
Yeah, which has been, I'm not even going to try to act cool. I don't know if your listeners are familiar with Grant.
Some of the people might know who Grant Cardone is. Others don't. If you don't know who Grant Cardone is, I'm sorry. You're just not cool. I joke when I say that. Grant Cardone is, I don't think I can sum him up in one sentence, but I think he's from Texas, right?
Louisiana.
Is Louisiana?
Yeah.
He is arguably one of the most successful self-made men on the planet, using real estate and bringing people together to be a part of real estate, and then ultimately moving it into the online entrepreneurial world so you can build your own world, but in a very different way than, say, the Gary Vaynerchuks of the world. Very different approach. And I keep forgetting what he says about his book. He wants to put he wants 1 million people to make $1 million or something like that.
He's a big personality, and he's audacious enough to try to reach 8 billion people, and it's crazy enough that he just might do it. I mean, everywhere. And for us, just to kind of put it in perspective, once we built this got into chatbots, and just to give, in case somebody's listening to this and like, what the hell's a chatbot? Because we've mentioned the word like a dozen times. Like, just imagine you're on a website, right? And it doesn't have to live on a website, but to give you a very simple example, imagine on a website you've got a chat widget and you start typing with it, and it creates an automated experience.
Often pretty crappy, I might add.
Always pretty crappy. They're absolutely horrible, which is why when I first heard about this, I was like, I have no interest in this. We're a customer support company. But then when I realized you could create experiences that people would enjoy, I mean, as you'll see, we bake in humor and we just really make it fun. And it's not just more leads, it's the quality of leads, really does make a tremendous difference. And the thing about it is it's just such a hot industry. It was, for us, we had the opportunity because we also build our chatbots work on platforms like Facebook and on Instagram. They also just work on regular old-fashioned SMS text message. And we had a little bit of an unfair advantage because we built such cool chatbots that at the time, Facebook used to rank all of their bots that were made in the world that were running.
Oh, really? I didn't
Facebook.
know that.
Yeah. And because of the way that we build these very conversational experiences, every chatbot that we built was ranked number 1 or 2 in the world.
It's amazing.
So, you'd go to a category like finance and it would be like our rinky-dink little company and then American Express. We just smoked them all because we just focused on the experience. Like we kind of thought about it a little bit differently. It wasn't for us. It wasn't about, saving a few bucks or going for the sale. It was like building this real relationship, like really, kind of touching people and allowing them to customize their experience. And because of that, they would come back and they would utilize it. So once we did that, right? We're, got recognized by Facebook. We're like, who do we want as a client? And Grant Cardone he was the natural fit because it was the biggest opportunity. And since then, without throwing out numbers, like it's just been just a tremendous, I'm not even going to sit here and act cool. It's been a life-changing amount of money. And, we've since then had the opportunity, we work directly with Facebook to help them improve this technology specifically around lead generation. So that was pretty cool. If there's any marketers out there, you probably have this love-hate relationship with platforms like Facebook. And it's just, it's a struggle every day, especially for a guy that doesn't like using social media. So if people go and Google me, like, Glenn, you're really solid with this stuff. I've got a whole team of people. I'm like kicking and screaming. I don't even like logging into this stuff. But to be able to be in a position where now, because we're utilizing this technology in a way that nobody else was, they flew me, little old me, to Palo Alto, California, and I'm sitting in the room with executives, from Facebook and Messenger, and they had 3 companies. I'm bragging right now, Glenn. I'm just going to brag. There's a reason for this bragging, right? Besides making sure that they get to Summit, you got to get to Summit. Yeah. I'm just telling you, like I've been to industry events of all types, and like I've never seen an industry specific event like just even watching the videos to this thing. Like everybody, the way that they talk about it is unbelievable. Like if you're listening to this, you don't get to Summit. That's just crazy. But
yeah, and Matt, you will be speaking at Summit.
I will be speaking at Summit. Part of the reason I'm so darn enthusiastic about it. But, to be able to sit in a room with Facebook and like have them break down our stuff, it just changed my whole paradigm and perspective on how I looked at social media, on how I looked at automation and getting clients. And granted, now I am a little bit on the inside with AI and those kind of things. But I think, that's part of the reason I'm leaning into it so much is because, if you're listening to this, my guess is the concept of AI is not new to you. I mean, you can't even turn on the news without hearing it. I mean, it's everywhere. But the problem is like, how the hell do I utilize? Like, what is it all about? What do I do and what do I not do? And to be able to team up with you, Glenn, in terms of your training and teaching on AI, and then me developing the product with your insight, like just to be able to like ask questions and be like, okay, so what do people need in their practice, and how can we increase their average ticket? And it's like I just can only imagine the pain and difficulty of generating leads in this industry that's so competitive, and the value of these leads, to like, number one, get the leads, and number two, make sure you maximize the dollar, every single dollar that you get from them, and to have such a great use case that we can take all of our insight and be able to just put it in a way that's just like plug and play. Here you go, rock and roll, and then be able to empower people with not just chatbots, but all of these AI tools to help them get more done in less time at higher quality. I'm beyond excited about this, man. This is going to be fun.
Well, let's dive in a little bit here, because letting the cat out of the bag a little bit here. Okay. This is not my product. This is Matt and Bot Builder's product. And by the way, just so you know, the first time I met Matt, the first time I met Matt, I was, I think, in Todd Brown's mastermind.
Yeah.
And I think Todd brought you in as a speaker for one of his summits, right?
Yeah.
And I remember you talking, and you like said things that I didn't even know existed. Like, oh, by the way, if you plug in this code and do this, when someone's open, their Facebook is open or what have you, and they come through your website, you capture their cell number or something like that. There was something back at the time that you talked about where you automatically would capture someone's cell number when they came to your website through some whatever code, because if their Facebook was open, their cell number was linked to their Facebook, and somehow it captured their cell.
Oh, there's all sorts of fun little things.
And this is old. Like, this is old. Like, that was like 2 years ago kind of stuff. And I look, I was like, oh my God, like, what is this guy? This guy's like a beast. He's doing stuff like, you're in a room with marketing mastermind, really smart people, some of them, not me. And I'm watching you just blow them away. And I said, okay, I came up to the idea and I said, all right, Matt, I think we're kind of frustrated in the ortho world, because what happens is at like 11:30 at night, someone's surfing the web and they're on Facebook, and maybe they see an ad or maybe they see something like, oh yeah, I want straight teeth. And they go through a chatbot, or they go to fill out your consult form and you get a lead, and then you call them and they ghost you and they're never interested because they saw a picture of a smile and said, oh, it would be great if I had a smile like that. And then it was just a quick impulse push, but there was no engagement. There was no real conversation had. And now I got 20 leads and not one of them show up in my office. And if I schedule 10 of them, literally one might show up, but maybe I can't even schedule one of the 20 because it was a quick impulse form that they filled out and they weren't really interested. And they got no information and they didn't understand things. So I said, Matt, if there's one guy on the planet who can solve this problem using AI and chat and bots, you're the guy. And so for everybody out there, I approached him and said, I think you should try to build something that can really solve this problem for us. And during the process of me being involved, because I'm John Q. Orthodontist, I'm the dude who's sort of explaining what patients ask typically, what kind of questions do they have, what matters to them, because that's the stuff that Matt doesn't know. And I got to tell you folks, this has been a remarkable experience for me going through this, learning this from Matt, because for instance, let's talk about this for a second. Originally, I said, hey, can your bots pass the Turing test? Remember I asked you that? Right. And for those out there who don't know, the Turing test, named after the amazing Dr. Turing, basically said, you know that artificial intelligence has passed the Turing test when the person on the other side has no idea whether it's a machine or a human, right? If they can't differentiate human from machine after putting it through all its paces, wow, that's amazing. That's passing the Turing test. And you told me we do not want this to pass the Turing test. We want people to know it's a chatbot. Can you explain that for a moment or two before we dive into more about the product itself?
I mean, first of all, that was a pretty darn sophisticated question. Not too many people, know who Alan Turing is or anything about that. And what's it called? The Imitation Game? Just a quick movie.
Was it Imitation Game? Was that what it was?
Yeah. Watch that movie. It's about Alan Turing.
It's a sad movie. It's the genius of Alan Turing, who was 1940s, 30s and 40s, I think.
I mean, he kind of played a major role in ending World War II. And
right. Did he help with the Enigma machine, I think, or something?
Yeah, he built it. That was his thing. Yeah, I mean, it's so watch that movie. That's just for I
got to go watch that again.
Yeah, it's amazing. But the thing of it is like there's been tremendous strides in artificial intelligence over the last 6 months, and it's not that everything just changes. The public is now, able to utilize these things. But even the best AI, and I do believe that we do it better than anyone. You can, if you drill down, you're going to figure out that you're not talking to a human being. I mean, I'm just being blunt here. Like it's just like, we're
not there yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's awesome, it's amazing. But the thing is that. I mean, especially if you're in this industry, your job is not to bamboozle people. Your job is to build relationships. And the second that there's that loss of trust, they're gone. So instead of making this thing where you're trying to, constantly like beat the, like make it so it's like impossible to figure out. It's like, instead what we do is we make it fun and engaging. Like we give the actual chatbot a character. And what that does is it encourages somebody to play with it. Now they're like, oh, this is cool. So it's
and it guides them. That's the key here.
Yes.
From what you said, and because I didn't know if you remember, you said it. The key here is you're taking the people on a journey that's a pre-programmed journey, like a choose your own ending book, right?
Yes.
You're taking them down it, but unlike a human being, right? Because many of us who are either here now or listening, we've had chat services on our live people, chat services on our websites. And many of the times it didn't work out well because the person maybe wasn't really well trained, or they made a mistake, or they didn't know how to answer, or they took too long, or all the things that are inherent with being a human being. The beautiful thing about a chatbot is, and yours are eloquent, because if anybody were to see behind the scenes, and I don't know if you're going to talk about it at Summit when you give your presentation.
I'll pull it back the curtain, buddy.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So this is like a computer program algorithm. If anybody out there ever used to be a programmer, which I used to be years and years and years ago, A to B, B to C, if this, then that, and you see an algorithm, a workflow, if you will. The workflows on the product that he's created for orthodontics literally is like hundreds and hundreds of different options out there. And the goal that you explained to me was to make a fun, engaging, informative, educational way of walking people through every step, so that someone who does click on something at 11 p.m. and say, wow, that's a nice picture of Krieger Orthodontics. I like that. So yeah, I'll click here. I'd like to get a smile like that. Instead of them going, yeah, here's my name and number. Instead, they get asked a question. Whoa, I wasn't expecting that, right? Oh, yeah, well, yeah, if you're asking me, then yeah, here's my answer. Great. Well, if you like that, well, what about this? And, all of a sudden you took my expertise of the ortho world, and you created a workflow that actually anybody who clicks on someone's ad on Facebook or wherever they may be, or on the web, and they get brought into your funnel. I hate to use that word because it's overused, but really, what do you call it if it's not called a funnel?
A flow is the term when it comes to a chatbot. Yep. So imagine a flow is just a series of events or messages that are all connected together and customized based on their experience.
So the moment somebody clicks on your ad or clicks on your whatever link you've got out there, whatever it may be, and they're in the flow, now you or I, if I've hired it, is we now control the entire flow of the organization. But best of all, because it's AI based, there's some thinking involved here, right? There's a little bit of more than just, oh, hi, my name is Glenn. I am your artificial intelligence assistant today, right? There's a lot more to it. So to me, is mind-boggling to take someone who saw an ad or a link and work them through a workflow that makes sense, is well thought out, involves AI, and then finishes them, drops them off safely at that last spot, which is making a new patient appointment that they're going to show up for. And then we have the lead gen, right? Talk a little bit about some of the ways that you do that. I guess that's the best way to question it.
The thing is coming in, and for those of you watching video, you probably realize that I have no experience in the orthodontic.
Oh, come on. Like Madonna, for those watching, Madonna, Michael Strahan, Cloris Leachman, models on the runway of Paris have diastemas. There's it's been fun building this. It's been fun building this with Matt whenever we talk about spacing.
Okay. Yeah, I know what spacing is. But I mean, here's the deal is everybody's got their, hey, we're the best, the best practice, and we can make your teeth brighter and your smile straighter, and but the reality of it is that people like me, we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to take that step and make the commitment to get in the chair. So having a chatbot, having an experience, right? What it does first of all is it gives you something unique. Right. And once they get started in this process, it's like, it's not just add, they book an appointment and get in the chair. Right. There's a lot of warming up, that needs to happen. It's like, you don't get married after the first date. And when I'm asking questions, and I'm like, okay, if I'm going to be serving your people, walk me through, just how do these conversations go when they're sitting in the chair? And luckily I ran into the right guy in this world. And truth be told, Glenn, if it wasn't for you, I would not, have even stumbled upon this amazing industry. But when I said, hey, just tell me about this methodology, that really gets people opened up and ready to make that decision and buy ultimately, because the thing is we can't help change people's lives and fix their smile unless they pull out their credit card. Right. And Glenn referred me to some of his old documentation, to some of the articles that he had published, right? And I went and I started studying and was just blown away, right? Digital co-diagnosis, you call it, correct?
Right.
And just reading this, I'm just like, this is like, you probably didn't realize this, but we have so much alignment in the way that we think. And he was calling it digital co-diagnosis when somebody was just sitting in a chair and looking at a screen and saying, hey, is it this? Is it this? Is it this? Right. Is it this?
And can I just for a second, Matt, interrupt? I want to pick it up right where you were. But for those out there who don't know what digital co-diagnosis is, because it's not a catchword that everybody caught on with. Those who use it know exactly what it is. But for those of you out there who don't know what digital co-diagnosis is, I wrote a 3-part series for dental economics, I think in 2011. Yeah, I think it was 2011 or 14. I wrote a 3-part series for dental economics on using a form of motivational interviewing with patients to walk them through a process of A to Z, showing them information to allow them to drive the conversation. So in its simplest form, everybody out there, I can show an image of someone's teeth, right, where they have a big space between their front teeth. And I can say to them, hey, do you see you got a big space there? I can close that using Invisalign or Spark or braces, or whatever I want to use. I can close that space and go through all the details and explain to them how it works. And what I did is I just gave them an option, told them how to do it, and they don't own anything. And the studies in psychology would say otherwise, that if I said to them, hey, Matt, when I look at your picture, do you see this picture here? Now, I know you're not stupid. I know you're a smart guy, but I'm going to ask you some simple questions. When you see this space between your front teeth, and obviously the space is kind of a stupid one because everybody sees it. But, do you think, it would be hard to do with a space because it's so obvious it's in the front of the mouth. But if I said to you, hey, when you see X or Y on the screen in front of you, should it look more like this? Or like in your case, obviously I wouldn't do this. Should the teeth be together or should there be a space there? And you'd be like, well, they should be together, right? I say, absolutely, right. Now, over time, if you ask people questions about specific issues, for instance, for those of you out there who understand the difference between a class 1 and a class 2 end-on relationship, is right when the teeth are hitting like gears or they're hitting like rocks on rocks. Anybody who's heard me speak has heard me talk about this. I could show a patient a picture of a class 2 and go, hey, you see the way your teeth hit here? They hit wrong. It's damaging. Long-term, you could have TMJ issues. You could have muscle issues. You could have wear over the teeth. And this is a problem. I just sold them a whole series of solutions to problems that they don't even own yet. Or I could show them the photo of the class 2 straight, and a class 1 and say, okay, you notice how this one hits like gears and the class 2 end-on hits like rocks on rocks? I know you're not an orthodontist, but which one seems healthier to you, Matt? The one where they hit smoothly like gears or the one where they hit like rocks on rocks? Now, I've guided you, of course. I've cheated a bit. I've used words like smoothly. But his answer back to me, if I said that to you, which is better and healthier, Matt? Rocks on rocks or smooth like gears? What do you say? What's your answer, Matt?
Smooth.
It's smooth like gears. And my answer back to Matt when he does that invariably is, yeah, you're right. Now, what did I just do? He said it and I affirmed it. You're right. Not that Dr. Krieger told you this is better. He told me it was better and I agreed. Now, you may not think that that's a big difference, but let me tell you, folks, as a restorative dentist who is presenting $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 cases to people who genuinely needed it and had shown up knowing they just needed a cleaning, right? And they accepted care after I walked them through digital co-diagnosis. They own their problem. They never, ever ask you again, why am I doing this again? A month later or 2 months later. And they'll never, ever leave you and badmouth you because they understand their problem. And even if they don't get started with treatment, they own their problem. And that is huge. And so sorry for interrupting, Matt. I wanted to explain what digital co-diagnosis was, because that's the essential nature of what you, without any help from me, bottled in your chatbot, was to walk people down the path where they tell you what their problem is and own it, and you just affirm it. So please pick it up from there. I apologize.
No, I think that's it. Is really unfolding the experience so that there's a term that I kind of made up. I do a lot of training of salespeople, and I say that people buy on their toes, not on their heels. Right, meaning that people they're ready to. Ultimately, you're not selling people, right? People are just making a decision, and ideally you're getting to a place where it's like people are just, like, sign me up, like, get me started, like, let's go. Not you're coming at, because when you come at people like most people do in marketing and sales, they're back here, right? They got their guard up. They're like, oh, okay, cool. Now I'm getting sold. So what I thought was, brilliant when I started reading Glenn's documentation, that was from the year, you said 2011, right?
11 or 14. It was one of those.
I mean, it's just, but the thing is it was like, just like, obviously, it was specific to your field, but just the marketing and the sales of it, I'm like, I'm taking that and I'm going to run with it. And we baked that experience into this AI and this chatbot in such a way that you've now got people that they're not showing up to your office with their guard up, right? They're showing up to your office and being like, let's handle this overjet. I really am interested in this Invisalign option.
Yeah. Do you remember, anybody out there has seen Wolf of Wall Street, right? It is the most vulgar, crazy movie you'll ever watch. But if you want a master class on selling, that one scene where he pulls out a pen. Did you ever see the movie, Matt?
Yeah, sure.
Remember, he says to the pen, sell me this pen. Well, this is a great pen. This pulls it away from him. Sell me this pen. And the next person goes, well, it works really well. It's a really customized pen for you. Pulls it away. The third guy, he gives him the pen. You remember what he says? Hey, sign something for me. He needs a pen, right? He didn't sell him anything. He just made him understand you need a pen. And so the difference that Matt is describing with chatbots and what he's created, imagine somebody goes onto your ad and it says, click here to make a free consultation with Krieger Orthodontics. Great. What does it cost me? What's my emotional investment? Nothing. I just write Glenn Krieger. Here's my phone number. Here's my email. I leave not caring if you ever respond back to me. Why? Because you own the problem, Glenn Krieger, not the patient. The patient simply entered some stuff and walked away. It was a checklist. I finished, I'm done. But what if, hey, by the way, who am I chatting with? Matt. Hey, Matt, good to chat with you. By the way, is your problem spacing? Is your problem crowding? What's the issue that you're facing right now? Right now, Matt tells me, I got a spacing issue. Oh, great. So Matt owns the fact that he has a spacing issue. And we're just, don't feel bad, Matt. Spacing is one of the most common reasons people come to us. We deal with that all the time. You've come to the right place. Whoa. Now we're offering, now let's start walking down the path of all the other components of maybe it's crowding, maybe it's an open bite, maybe it's a cross bite, maybe it's phase one. It could be any series of things. But once we get them to identify it, and knowing full well they're with a chatbot, they know they're with a chatbot, but yet the part that blows me away, Matt, and I love your input on this, is why do people engage with chatbots when they know it's not a human being?
Well, because, right? Why do I not want to go face the music? It's just an embarrassing situation, right? I'll give you a perfect example. We have people who are flipping houses using chatbots, right? Years ago, I flipped houses in Columbus, Ohio. Okay, this is a different situation, but exactly the same. And the problem is you're advertising a problem, right? Like people know, hey, I'm behind on my payments or I'm getting divorced or whatever. People don't like to face problems, right? Especially in front of another human being. They just have this level of embarrassment. They don't want to deal with it, right? So what we did, all right, I hope this example isn't too far out there, but we learned, spent big bucks, went to a seminar, and they taught us. They said, on your marketing materials, put on there 24-hour recorded message. so that when they pick up the phone and call, they're not calling a human being. They're calling to listen to a recorded message. It's a baby step, right? It's this sort of thing of like, oh, I'm interested in this, but I don't want to talk to somebody because I don't want to talk about my problems. I don't want to face it. So they would call the 24-hour hotline, and then at the end of it, they go, okay, I'll press 2 to get connected. And it's the exact same thing with the chatbot. Interesting. Right? Like, I'm not committing to going to a chair. I'm taking a baby step. I'm like, I would love to play around with this AI-powered smile generator, and be able to, to see what my smile would look like, and to see what my problems are and what my options are. And once I've gone that far, am I going to give my contact information and book an appointment? The likelihood of me completing that step is infinitely higher.
Do we have any stats on that, by the way? Do we know?
I mean, I've never done this in your particular field, but I'll just tell you this: like, we've got these experiences where we'll get leads from 92% of the people that start them, and I don't, results vary and all that kind of stuff. But yeah. I'm just telling you, it's just a tremendous amount. In real estate, we'll say, oh, okay, what's your property? What's your deal? What's your situation? And it's like, it's always over 90%. Like, now I'm invested in this conversation, right? Now I'm owning up, and I'm seeing that there's a potential solution there, and I'm warm. I'm not a cold lead anymore. Now I'm a warm lead.
And it's less threatening because you're not talking to a human being about it, right? Yeah. You're not feeling judged. You're not feeling, and it's a great point you made, because I never thought about that. That when I have an event, like a July 4th event, and there's a big party, and I have my booth at this, whatever it is, or a Thanksgiving event, the reason you may not be getting as many leads as you want is because you got a human being asking people if they'd like to make an appointment.
You got it.
Right? It almost sounds to me like it would be better if you're going to have a raffle to draw people in, to have just an iPad sitting there and say, hey, click here to enter the raffle. Oh, by the way, would you like to make an appointment to come in for a new patient appointment? As opposed to my assistant standing with a clipboard saying, hey, would you like to make an appointment? Because maybe they're embarrassed about that's a great point. And I love the way you think, Matt. But as we're running out of time here, as we're sort of winding things down a little bit, what I told Matt, and this is the kicker for anybody listening out there, and please, I'm begging you, for about 500 reasons, you should be at Orthopreneur Summit, September 7th to 10th in Orlando. This is the theme is to recession-proof your practice. There's so many ways we're going to help you get a leg up on all the other practices out there. So you have a stronger practice, you have lower stress, you have more profitability, and the people we have speaking are just all built around that. So if you're not signed up, and you're not one of the we have about 900 and change already signed up for the meeting. If you're not one of them, go to opsummit2023.com. That's opsummit2023.com. Sign up before the price goes up, okay? The room block as of right now is almost 90% sold, which means that if you don't get in the next 10%, you ain't getting a cheaper room. I'm just saying. So go to opsummit2023.com. Don't worry, Matt, we got you covered. I got it. I see Matt writing this down. I'm like, I got a room for you, Matt. You're a speaker. Don't worry about it, dude. But for everybody out there, you're going to hear Matt talk about this, and there's going to be a special offer for people at the meeting. It's, any people will be able to get this after Summit, but it ain't going to be the same price. It ain't going to be the same opportunity. And that's why being there in that room when he presents it is going to be huge. But what I told Matt and what you delivered on, Matt, is whatever you create needs to take people from point A, from where they clicked on something in my universe that is my job as a marketer to get them into my universe. I don't care what that is, but they're going to click on something to get into my universe. You need to walk them down the path with digital code diagnosis like you did, and get them to the point where they are ready, willing, and excited about coming into my office, and they know what their problem is. They know what some possible solutions for their problems are without any problems, of diagnosis or anything like that. And that they're ready and happy to fill out that new patient form so that my team can get a hold of them ASAP. And I don't want to let this one out of the bag, because there's somebody else you've been talking to who's also been an exhibitor at Summit, who actually has a product that dovetails amazingly with this, so that literally the lead is captured instantly. I'm going to let them do justice to it. I don't even want to get into it right now. But the whole point is, for somebody who implements this properly, they take somebody from A to new patient exam and on the phone instantly, literally at the snap of a finger, without hiring anybody. You don't have to hire any staff to do this. right? You don't need anybody to monitor it because your treatment coordinator can monitor everything. And that's the whole point here is I told him, make people more profitable and don't increase their stress levels at all. Did I say that okay?
Yeah, that's it. And I'm excited to show you everything we've got here because I feel strongly that we're going to deliver on that promise and then some. So, yeah, get your butt to Summit. I think that's a great way to close it. I don't know what else to say. And for those people who do, if you Google me, you don't feel a need to, but just know that what we're going to be offering at Summit is unlike anything that we've never unveiled anything like this. We've never touched this industry. And this is very specific and very unique to this is not even for dentists, right? This is just orthodontists only.
By the way, he just got brownie points for recognizing that orthodontists are not dentists. All orthodontists are dentists, but orthodontics and dentists, everybody, even my friends still think I'm a dentist. I am, but they think I fix fillings and crowns. And I don't understand how people know I'm an orthodontist. I treat their kids and they still ask me on the weekends, hey, by the way, do you do fillings? I'm like, just leave me alone. Get out of here. But the funniest part about this whole story is when I first approached you about this, I remember where we were. We were in the Orlando hotel, the actual hotel where this meeting is going to be held. We were in the Marriott World in Orlando at Todd Brown, right? I think it was Todd Brown. And I came up to you and you were sitting at the counter at the restaurant having a sandwich or something. And I'm like, dude, have I got an idea for you? And at first he's like, I don't know about this industry. And the more I explained, the more it was just like a perfect fit for what you do. And I can't say thank you enough for having an open mind and tackling something that I think all of us as orthodontists have been struggling with for a long time, which is we work so hard to get people to notice us. And then we literally, well, figuratively, drop the ball. Because what do? We spend all this money, we spend all this SEO, we spend all this money with marketing companies, we do whatever we can to get people to get into our flow. And then what do we do? Click here to make a new patient appointment, right? Take some photos of your teeth, right? What does that do for us? As opposed to engage them in a real conversation that is disarming, educational, and gets them up the funnel, if you will, to where now they're solution driven. They understand what it is you're offering and are ready to jump in and think. So I got to tell everybody out there, I've seen it, but it's really cool. But even I haven't seen all the details on it yet. And so I'm excited to see what you talk about at Summit because kind of like the bride on the day of her wedding, she doesn't, you can't go in public and show people. I don't want to see it. I don't want to know it until we're married, man.
And we've got things that I haven't even told you. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And the best part, and so to be crystal clear for everybody, this is not my product. I did not make this. This is not an Orthopreneur's product. This is Matt Leitz and Bot Builder. But to his credit, he really drew on behalf of all of you, our expertise as orthodontists, and what are the ways that patients come through our practice. And I think many people could have pushed this aside and said, Glenn, I know sales, just trust me on this. But I literally gave you solutions and you work them in. And, if I were to ask anybody out there right now, what are the most common words people use when they see you? Do they, like someone who's not an orthodontist might say, I want braces. No, but they don't say I want braces. They say, I hate my smile, or I hate the way I look in photos, right? Or, every time I smile, my front teeth look dark, or all the things. And that's the best part is he built this into the bot, the language that they use so that it feels familiar and it feels natural. So kudos to you, Matt, for bringing that stuff in. And I really appreciate you from the bottom of my heart.
My pleasure. Can't wait to see everybody at Summit. Let's go.
Yeah, I can't wait. So again, if you're not signed up, opsummit2023.com. Hope to see you there. If you're not, this is the meeting everybody's going to be talking about. And my whole goal is here just to reduce your stress, increase your profitability, and help you lead your best life. So with that, Matt, thank you for helping me lead my best life. I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, man.
We've got several stressors in our life. We've got a great profession, but we've got to deal with overhead. We've got to deal with productivity. We got to deal with team members that are outside of our control sometimes. And the great news is all of these issues are addressed in depth in this year's curriculum at Orthopreneur Summit. So please go to opsummit2023.com, sign up for the meeting that's almost sold out, that everybody's going to be talking about, that you really need to be at to be your best practice with the lowest stress and highest profitability. opsummit2023.com. Please join me there so that I can take care of you even better than you take care of your patients.